By Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome in Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, it's a Remember Wednesday presented by Fayetteville Fly Co. So we'll go into some of the things that we remember from random times and sports and everything like that. So we'll have some fun with that. We'll get to your chats. We'll also give you the latest on the transfer portal and what's going on with Arkansas specifically. No big pops today yet, but we'll keep you updated on that right here. But guys, it's a good Wednesday because we get to talk some basketball to start. It's a nice little change, and it's a positive basketball thing. It feels good. It feels good right now.
It does feel good. Feels good to get a big win. I'm still buzzing from the atmosphere at Madison Square Garden, man. It was awesome. And that's exactly what the Razorbacks needed to do. They needed to pass the eye test. They needed to get a signature win. John Calipari needed something good to happen for him and that whole narrative. Even though he's had like 30 years of it building, one night will at least cure some of that for a day or two here. But no, it was really good to see, man. I was happy to see the Razorbacks play well in front of a big crowd. And honestly, I'm just happy for Razorback fans, man, because folks needed that one. And it was very close to being the complete opposite. You know, had that last second shot gone down, this would be a very different conversation today, but it didn't. And a win is a win. You take it, man. It's good stuff.
You like Cal's post-game speech where he's like, hey, we tried to give it away, but guess what? We didn't.
Yeah.
And last night on the post-game show, I implemented the 24-hour rule where I'm like, look, we're going to celebrate this for 24 hours, and then we'll start to really nitpick and dive into what they need to improve on. That 24 hours is still going on because, the game was super late last night. So at 10 p.m. tonight, that's when I'll reset, really start diving into the film and start breaking it down. But for now, I don't want to hear anything about the lead that was almost blown or missed free throws down the stretch or inbounding it to Trevin Brazil, whatever. I don't want to hear about any of that. Arkansas got a huge win over an NCAA tournament team, a top 15 team, and they justified the way that we feel about them. They're starting to make some progress, and it was a nice step forward and a much needed one. And you're right. Very happy for the fan base. They deserve that.
I was just happy also to see some people, not everybody, but some people just not, shut the F up about Cal and Arkansas and not just come out and be like, oh, this is classic. Oh, even when they win, they look terrible. They got to win, and they, for the most part, there's still some, but it was just nice to see people coming out and saying, gritty win by Arkansas, good win for Arkansas. That was a good performance by him, great basketball game. It wasn't that Michigan sucked. It wasn't that, they got lucky. It was some bad call in the end of the game. They got a quality win away from home against a quality opponent. And it was just nice to see that. And it kind of makes me wonder, which I know some people have, sometimes in sports this happens this way. In fact, in a lot of cases, but basketball, especially college basketball, new team, everything could be different. I think most Razorback fans are just really hoping that this is the type of win that can give them that boost in confidence and assurance and, the things that happened last night and the way that you won because you got down big. Then you came back and you got up big. And then they came back, but you weathered the storm and got the win. You made plays. Saw DJ Wagner, get teed up because he was going over there to defend his teammate. Those little things that happen that maybe make you feel like, hey, this could be that type of win that really propels you. Does that mean you're going to go on the road and beat the number 1 Tennessee Volunteers the first game of the SEC play? Probably not. But maybe this is the type of thing that finally gets them into being a little bit more consistent in performances instead of having a terrible first half and having to hope that the second half of basketball is always going to be good against lesser opponents.
Yeah, I'd sit there in person about 20 feet away from Tennessee and watch them play last night. And they're very good, but they're beatable. They didn't just look head and shoulders better than Arkansas or Michigan did in that game right after that. So going to be a tough one on the road, but I'm more optimistic about it right now than I was this time yesterday. I'll tell you that, buddy. But yeah, man, like you mentioned the DJ Wagner thing and just some of those moments that kind of show you that, just signs of progress, signs of a team coming together and starting to play for each other. And you'll hear about a dozen more of those moments if you listen to the Pot at the Palace in the morning that's coming out, because I just recorded and listed a bunch of those, that DJ Wagner play being one of them. And so, yeah, a lot of positive signs to be taken away. Like Eric Musselman's favorite saying was, basketball is a game of runs. This was very much that. Me and Andrew were talking about that specific Bet Saracen prop that they always like to put out. That's like, oh, Arkansas leads by more than 12 and trails by more than 13 in a game plus 900. I don't know what it was for this Michigan game, but I bet some folks made some money on it, man. It was a heavyweight fight, and there were a bunch of knockdowns, and Arkansas wound up winning the decision in the end. Yeah, I thought it was two really good teams, two NCAA tournament teams, and somebody had to win, somebody had to lose, and Arkansas made just enough plays down the stretch to get it done.
Yeah, and I mean it's again, there's plenty to still talk about, and there's still plenty of work to be done for this Arkansas team. It's not like this is the national championship they just won. They've got a lot. They've got a tough SEC schedule. I mean, you look around the SEC, all these other SEC teams. It seems like every night I check scores and there's another massive marquee win from an SEC team beating somebody good. Where I'm like, damn. It's going to be tough to play Ole Miss, or it's going to be tough to play Auburn, or if it's going to be tough to play whoever, Kentucky. It's nice that Arkansas is now that team that got that win. They got theirs out of the way. Because, Curtis, you texted our group and you were like, the SEC standings, which obviously nobody's played conference play yet, but like Arkansas was like one of only 2 or 3 teams that had 2 losses. You're like, dude, you could actually make a case. Like Arkansas has been the least impressive SEC team, and obviously last night changed that in a big way. And we talk about resume a lot, and it's way too early to be talking metrics and all that and how it really affects. But I mean, Arkansas jumped from 49 to 40 in the net rankings this morning, which I feel like is notable. That puts you firmly on the good side of the bubble. And also there's plenty of room to grow for this team gelling from a, actual lineup standpoint, but there's also plenty of room for this team to grow from a resume standpoint. You mentioned that Tennessee game, Ole Miss shortly after that. Like Arkansas is going to get a good chance to really solidify their claim as one of the better teams in the country. And look, and even if they lose some of those games early, I mean, late, you still have Auburn, you still have A&M, you still have Bama, all this. I just look forward to watching this team continue to take those strides, because what have we been saying a long time? We just want to see proof that this team is going in the right direction. I feel like we were starting to get that. I feel like that Miami game was nice, but like Curtis said last night, you really wanted a real win. I feel like this was an actual tangible step forward that we can identify, be happy about, and now we can see what this team can do going forward.
It's also worth pointing out real quick that, not like you try not to make excuses for Arkansas when they lose. Like they were not healthy in this game. Like Dude Theoro had the flu. Cal said afterwards, like he wasn't even able to participate in shoot around. And they thought, man, maybe we can get 10 minutes out of you in the game or whatever. They wound up getting 21. So that's good. And he was really impactful. Was wondering about Billy Richmond. I know he played 61 seconds and Arkansas was -8 with him on the floor in that time period. And I was like, in the report card, like I didn't know after the fact. I was like, yeah, it just wasn't his night, whatever. It's from the sounds of it. He also had the same illness that Theoro had. So that kind of had you another man down. And then was talking about Big Z as well, who, listen, that was not going to be a good matchup for him anyway. We knew that because of the pick and roll stuff and the defensive issues that he has guarding that. But he's still nursing that ankle. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play on Saturday. So they were operating with like 6.5 dudes out there, and they had to weather a ridiculous storm against a really good Michigan team and then hold them off there at the end. So finding a way to get it done, whether it was pretty or not, really, really impressive stuff from Arkansas. And if they are able to string together 40 minutes of basketball as good as the middle 20 minutes that they played, they can beat anybody in the country, literally anyone. That was really, really good, that middle ground. So that's kind of the story for basketball teams early in seasons. Like, okay, you show flashes, you have good halves, good stretches or whatever. Can you put it together for 40 minutes? If they can do that from where they came back from 15 down and got up 18, my goodness, man, that was some good ball.
We got it before we even do anything. Hey, Logan Coker, sir, we appreciate your super chat, man.
Salute to you.
We really do. He says, Hogs fans needed that win. Go Hogs. That's really nice of you to do. And it's a good Christmas gift. So Merry Christmas to you and it's a holiday season. But yeah, thank you for that. For real, though. That is very much appreciated.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks a ton for that. Really do appreciate it. And you're right, man. Like Hog fans needed that. They deserved it. And I'm sure everybody who was watching that game at home felt the same way that the people did within that building. There was something different going on in that building. And some of it's just the energy of being at a place like Madison Square Garden. I don't take that for granted at all. But they were into it, man. And it's so cliche to do oh yeah, it's an NCAA tournament atmosphere. It was, man. Like they were really getting after it. It was a fan base and a team on the floor that just had no interest in losing this game. Like they just were not going to let it happen. Not last night. And it was really cool, man. It was almost like a release or like a big exhale for the fan base. It was really cool.
Hog fans definitely needed it, man. And you know what's cool about it is, we talked about this a little bit last night, that this is kind of part of what you expect when you have John Calipari as your head coach. It's cool. I love that he was saying, man, I think Arkansas should play in Madison Square Garden every year from now on, which I know his Kentucky teams played plenty in Madison Square Garden back in the day. So he's used to doing it. But it's cool to have a coach that embraces these big stages, embraces these big moments. And that energy that he has is infectious, where your team feels like they belong on these big stages. The fan base, which showed up awesome. It was so cool to see all the guys on TV, all the people with the hog hats and all that, people going crazy. I mean, you talked about the energy a lot, and they talked about it a lot on the broadcast. It's cool to see the entire fan base also embrace that big stage, because they've been waiting for stuff like this. And so it's cool to enjoy the fruits of Coach Calipari's labor, I guess.
Okay. Seriously, Logan, thank you again. Thank you for that. It says Inside Arkansas, sponsored by Logan. Merry Christmas, fellas. Thank you, Logan.
Well,
for real.
Logan is he's going to be the sponsor. I'm serious about this. It's going to be every morning now until the new year. It's going to be welcome to the Pot at the Palace, sponsored by Logan Coker. I'm telling you right now, like you just did that. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Congratulations. You have officially sponsored a segment.
that's right.
Yeah. Well, again, Logan, that's really sweet of you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome.
you.
And we appreciate you locking in and listening in and hanging out with us. So have a Merry Christmas, man. Shoot, we can take the day off now, fellas. My goodness.
Yeah, how about that? That was a great show, fellas. Hope y'all have a good day.
It's been real.
Yeah. See you later. I do want to play a few clips though after last night. Some of them are pretty funny. Mainly. I want to start though with the one with SVP after the game, because obviously the game was on ESPN. SVP, his show goes on right afterwards, and just clip, just the reaction of Cal is just hilarious.
Is your league as you look top to bottom? I don't know if I've ever seen a deeper league.
Oof. Like, they're saying it's like SEC baseball. Like every game in the basketball now is a game you can lose. Like, if you're looking for wins, like, okay, we can get this one. There are none. And the only problem I had for a while, I thought, we were the win.
So I just want to, shoo. Yeah. I don't know if you guys ever seen Caddyshack, but it got to remind me of the old guy in it. He's just like, Danny, It's like, just, I don't know what noises you're making, but I feel like I understand the reaction and the emotion you're showing from him.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, and that's probably he's just off the cuff with it. You ask any coach in the SEC about the SEC, that's the exact same reaction. Like if they're going into staff meetings, and just doing a little look ahead, like, all right, let's start thinking about some advanced scouting since we're getting up on the holiday breaks here, and they're looking up and down the SEC, literally from top to bottom, going, woof. It's tough, man. It's going to be an absolute gauntlet, and the truth is, like 500, it guaranteed get you in the NCAA tournament in this league. It's like what the Big 12 has been the last couple of years. I mean, and without the Pac-12 being a thing now, you're going to automatically get 1 or 2 extra bids. It is not crazy at all to think that there will be 12 out of 16 SEC teams make the NCAA tournament. Ain't crazy at all.
Yeah, especially because like one of the teams that you would have said preseason you don't expect would be Oklahoma, and they're like a surefire NCAA tournament team, at least as it appears today. A couple of those teams have really risen up the ranks a little bit. But shout out to Coach Cal, SEC baseball fanatic. He knows how hard it is to win in this league in basketball. But he's also been in this league for a while. He's noticed there's some pretty good baseball played in this league, which I'm sure he appreciates being at a school that actually cares about baseball. Yeah.
Well, I'll also say that for some reason, I guess it's the TikTok angle. The clip was really low, but it was not low when I downloaded it originally. So I don't know, but yeah, I know we understand that. But also wanted to throw this one out there. I guess it was Matt Norlander that tweeted it out at the press conference just before it even starts. Cal just casually coming into the press conference with Karl Anthony Towns on speakerphone because he just couldn't wait until he got off the phone to go into the press conference room. But it's just still a funny moment.
Now, and I say, you won a game last night shooting threes. I had to let these guys shoot threes, yeah. But the one thing I'll tell you, you made free throws. You couldn't guard pick and roll defense. You couldn't guard pick and roll defense. You still can't. So, I love you, brother. I'm in the front of the media, so look, you're bothering me. I love you. You're the best. Bye-bye.
Just awesome. Just such a Cal move of knowing the situation, but constantly letting everybody know, hey, I'm still John frickin' Calipari, and I got Karl Anthony Towns casually just on speakerphone.
Yeah, man, that slight flex there, that was really funny, and he's right about everything that he said about Karl Anthony Towns just then. That was awesome, man. That was really good stuff. There's something refreshing about Cal, and I get it. Like he can be put on repeat, and he plays the greatest hits, and he'll say the same things over and over. But if you can just figure out how to tune that part of it out, and then just kind of listen to the other subtleties in there, he's low key really funny. And he also he's humble too, man. Like he took accountability for a couple mistakes that he made in that game. And I thought he made a few, but who the hell am I to judge a Hall of Famer? But he took accountability for him. He said, hey, like a couple things here that I wish I wouldn't have done or that I would have done differently. But you know what? Our players made plays anyway. And there's something to be said for that, because nobody's going to coach a perfect game, just like nobody plays a perfect game. There has to be a balance there. And so people who were, and they tried to get the soundbite out of him later, where it's like, oh, can you remember times perhaps in your career at UMass or Kentucky or Memphis where your players bailed you out of bad decisions that you made? And he was just like, hey, according to some of you guys out there, I've been getting bailed out my whole career, man. Like I just have great players who bailed me out my whole career. And I think that's funny, because you're not always going to make the right call. You're not always going to call the right play. But part of coaching is getting in very talented players and instilling them with the confidence to go make plays when things go rogue, when things break down or go off a script. And he's doing both of those things right now. I loved it. And when he said it, and he was like, and also like my guys, they make plays and they bail me out, and then they go make a bunch of money in the NBA. Somebody in that press conference room gave a little eye roll or a smirk or whatever, and he looked him dead in the eye and says, I know it drives you nuts when I say that, doesn't it? I know exactly who it was, Mr. CBS Sports. I know exactly who it was. And so, yeah, for all those people who take shots at Cal, you think that he doesn't know about it. He knows. He hears it all. He just knows how to take the high road and get his jabs in when he can.
Well, you remember in the preseason, we talked a lot about, oh, would Cal be rejuvenated at a new scene? New, all he needed was a fresh start and all that. And honestly, in the moment when we were talking about it, I was like, maybe a little bit, but like, not really. I didn't think that was much of a story. And look, I'm not trying to turn this into a thing where it's like, oh, he's happy at Arkansas and he hated it at Kentucky. It's not like that at all. The dude had a lot of fun at Kentucky, had a lot of success at Kentucky. But I do think like it's just one of those things that he does look a little refreshed, and he looks like he's having fun. Not to say that he wasn't having fun at Kentucky, but it just does seem like a guy who's enjoying himself. He's very engaged in those press conferences, even if he is rambling and playing the hits and saying all of his one-liners that he always says. Just see his energy in the Scott Van Pelt interview. You see his energy talking to the team, interacting with the team. I think he's having a lot of fun, and I think it's cool to see him in this light and to see him saying all these things as the Arkansas head coach, things that we've heard him say before. We've seen him name drop, his players at Kentucky. We've seen him talk about John Wall and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and all these guys, but to see him doing it while being the head coach of Arkansas, I'm sure some of those guys spoke to the guys in the locker room, like having Boogie Flan be able to hang out with Tyrese Maxey and shake hands with him, like that kind of stuff might not be a massive deal to some people, to fans, or even reporters might roll their eyes and all that. That's definitely something that kids that want to be a part of cool programs, they're looking at it and they're like, hey man, that's awesome. So again, I just love seeing Arkansas on this big stage, and I love to see Coach Cal having fun. And look, if Arkansas starts losing, I'm sure he's not going to have as much fun. But for right now, he's enjoying himself a lot, and it makes me happy because I really have come to admire and enjoy Cal as a person, which frankly I didn't think would be the case. Like when Arkansas hired him as a head coach, I didn't think, they're getting an upstanding citizen. But I got to be honest, in all my interactions with him, being around him, like the dude's a solid guy. He just has a fun personality that you kind of want to cheer for.
Yeah, I never said anything bad about him, obviously, ever, before he became the coach of Arkansas. And it is kind of the funny thing when you get to see him all the time. In Kentucky, you only saw him when Arkansas and them played, or at least I did. Or if you saw him being that goofball at Big Blue Madness or whatever it is and dancing up there, like, okay, this guy's a jackhole. Like, I don't give a rip about him. But when you get to actually like hear from him every day and hear from his perspective, and of course, some of the things that he's done, some of the things he said about things that are happening here in Arkansas, very likable. I hate to say it. but he is very likable. And I think that there's something to be said in that. But I will also throw in, as far as our question of the day, presented by Alumni Hall here in Fayetteville, 3417 North College Avenue. You can shop online, alumnihall.com. All the things that you have for Razorback apparel, there's only one place to get it. It's 100% at Alumni Hall. So check them out today, just in time for the holiday season. But I just simply asked, who's your MVP from last night? Because, there were some good players and everything, and guys that really stepped up big. But the choices were Boogie Flan, DJ Wagner, Trevin Brazile, or other. 46% of you said Trevin Brazile. I'm not going to say I'm shocked, but I'm happy to see that, because so often do you see a lot of hatred or a lot of hate get thrown at that guy. And, whether it's sometimes it's justified or not saying he's a perfect player and he makes all the right decisions, but he was massive last night. And I also loved how Cal was talking about him missing those free throws at the end, which, man, you can't do. You cannot do that again in that situation, but made up for it at the other end with a huge defensive block. That was huge, and he was a huge part of this. And people felt like he was the MVP. 29% said DJ Wagner, and 23% said Boogie Flan. So pretty interesting numbers there.
You know who else missed 2 potential game-sealing free throws in a recent important Razorback win?
I do.
Adu Thero.
Yeah.
So, and he's been Arkansas's best player all year. It happens, it happens. And we talked about it on the post game and everything, but what was so cool about that moment for Brazile is it did happen, and he didn't sulk, he didn't pout, he didn't let one mistake multiply into more, and he goes down and just makes an incredible block that helps seal the game on the other end there. It was just a huge play. That would have been a go-ahead bucket for Michigan, and he swatted that thing out of there. And they had a couple big physical 7-footers in there. So cool to see from Trevin Brazile, man. I'm so happy for him. Because this has not been an easy road for him. And some of it's been, injury related. Some of it's been self-inflicted with the way that he's handled himself, with some of his mental toughness and things like that. But he's really done a great job of embracing a new role and being selfless and sacrificing for the team. He's been so much more just dialed in on the defensive end of the floor this year. Last night, he looked like one of the more physical guys on the floor. And I never in a million years would have thought that I could say that. But now there's no excuse for him moving forward. But man, it was just awesome getting in there on the boards, challenging guys at the rim, just playing with a little bit of edge, knock down threes. He had a great game. And I had a heck of a time trying to figure out who the heck to call my MVP in the post-game report card. I wound up giving a bunch of people A's, and I gave Boogie my MVP. With the understanding he was 6 of 18 from the floor. That's not good. But man, he had 7 assists, 2 turnovers, made just some huge shots for Arkansas. So many of those guys did great things in this game. DJ was unbelievable. His best second half. That was the best basketball we've seen him play as a Razorback. Probably some of the best basketball of his career, man. Really good stuff from a lot of those guys. But yeah, I'm pumped for Trevin, man. He needed that. And that's the kind of stuff that's what Arkansas fans love, right? It's guys who are willing to dive on the floor for loose balls, hustle for chase down blocks, posterize 7-footers and get on SportsCenter top 10. That's the way people really start to appreciate you. And he's already winning this fan base back over. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, it's just cool to see him get this this last chapter as a Razorback, because he's had a kind of weird career, frankly. I mean, dating back to his freshman year at Missouri on a dog shit team, had some really awesome moments as a sophomore. Then he obviously tears his ACL. Never was really himself last year, and so now you've got this new team, new situation, new coach, and to see him kind of finding his way and finding out a way to impact this team in a big, notable way, it's awesome. And also, the matchup itself is why. I mean, of course, you're going up against 2 awesome 7-footers who were great and had great games in their own right. You needed Arkansas's front court to step up. And Curtis, we praised Trevin a lot the other day as being the kind of guy that in this new small ball era of switching and pick and rolls and trying to get mismatches with guards on, we felt like Trevin could thrive in that kind of role. But we were like, there's going to be matchups where they face more physical teams, more bigger front courts, where it's going to be a little bit more of a tough matchup. He flipped that around where it wasn't a tough matchup for him. He held his own very much in there. And in a night where Arkansas needed it, I also want to speak about Adu Thero, who's not the MVP of the game by any means. Probably one of his worst games of the year, one of the worst to play all year, especially on the defensive end. But I did want to give him another shout out because Arkansas continues to be so dependent on him early in games where it takes Arkansas 10 minutes to get going. And Adu Thero's like the only guy who's like really able to give them any type of spark offensively. I want to say he hit their first 3. And there was a point in the first half where he was just willing shots in. Like he was just driving and just like, this has to go in. We need 2 points right now. And I think he had like 11. I don't know what he finished with points wise, but he scored almost all of them in the first half. And obviously throughout the game, he got super tired. They were trying to give him as much rest as they could to just try and squeeze every last bit of life out of him on a night where he had the flu. So credit to him for battling through that and giving Arkansas all he could. But again, I feel like he always does that in the first half where he lets this team settle into the game and just kind of forces his way offensively. I never would have thought I'd be saying this preseason that Arkansas would be so dependent on Adu Thero to create offense early in games. And they missed his defensive presence last night because he wasn't at his peak self. But I just wanted to give him some credit for battling through on what wasn't his night. He still was out there giving everything he had.
I mean, understand the context of the comparison here, obviously, but Thero has those moments like you're mentioning where he's very much like LeBron, where it's like, man, like stuff's just not working. Like the team needs some momentum, whatever. Let's just give it to the dude who is bigger, stronger, and more athletic than everybody. And you just get to the rim, just bully your way, get to the rim, get a bucket, and let's move on. And he does that for Arkansas time and time again.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. I will also I wanted to ask this in the beginning, but I mean, it's not like we can sit here and do research. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I don't think I've ever seen a game where one team led as much as they did, and then the other team led as much as they did, and then the final part of the game was a one possession by 2 points. I don't think I've ever seen a game like that in my life. Like, because what was it? I think Michigan led by as many 16, I believe.
15.
15? Okay, so they led by 15. Arkansas led by 18 at the most, and then ended up being a 2-point game. That, again, if it's happened before, I feel like it's got to be some rare air, but that was one of the wildest things I've ever seen of just, I felt like, oh man, Arkansas is about to get blown out. Oh man, Arkansas is about to blow them out. Oh crap, Arkansas is about to lose again. Holy crap, they won. It was just such a wild 40 minutes of basketball.
It was, yeah. And part of that, John, is because of the adjustments that both coaches made and both teams made to where, you know, obviously like Michigan was just picking everything apart. I mean, they were getting whatever looks they wanted for the longest there before Arkansas tightened up and started to get some stops and started to play faster. And then it was Arkansas who was the aggressor. They were getting downhill. You saw Michigan, they started to mix up their defenses. They were showing a little bit of zone, kind of had Arkansas back on their heels a little bit. And then they became the aggressor. And all of a sudden they were dialing up all those pick and rolls again. So it was like, it really was kind of a back and forth chess match. It's unbelievable, man. It's such a fun game with all those swings. And I love going back and looking at like all my mentions and everything in tweets. And it's so funny to see, but the consistent theme is always teams are always, you know, just they're always red hot from three against Arkansas, and Arkansas can never shoot. Like that's just always the thing. And Michigan was, I mean, it was ridiculous. I think they were like 7 of 12 or something in the first half from three. But to Arkansas's credit, they only allowed 1 3 in the second half. And you know, if you go look at it at the end of the game, Michigan finishes, what were they, 8 of 18 from three. So that's a really good percentage, but they didn't get off very many attempts in the second half of this game. In fact, 1 of 6 in the second half from three for Michigan. That's one thing that Arkansas talk about a lot is, hey, we just want to limit the amount of attempts these teams are getting. And they just haven't been doing that, but they did in this game. That was a huge factor. And then again, this Arkansas team that people keep telling me can't shoot. You look up at the end of the game, they're 9 of 23 from three. I mean, you will take that every single game from Arkansas. And they did it again in a game where you didn't have to get 5 or 6 of them from Big Z. Everybody was contributing. So good stuff, man.
Yeah, I don't remember how many threes Michigan hit in the first half. Was it 7 that they hit in the first half, 7 or 8 or something like that? They 12, went a long time without hitting one. And to your point, wasn't even like they were getting off attempts. They were like 0 for 3, 12 minutes into the second half, which it helps whenever you have, I don't know how many turnovers they ended up with, like 12, 13 turnovers in the second half. Arkansas, they weren't getting a ton of shots at all, but it is weird that in a game where Arkansas gave up 87 points, I'm kind of like, man, the way they defended down the stretch, man, I think that's a winning effort. And obviously they had struggles with the big to big passing, the big to big pick and rolls there, which again, we talked about really just not going to see much at all. But I really thought that Arkansas defensively down the stretch made a lot of huge plays. And yeah, the 3-point shooting, even the volume was okay. where they ended up shooting around the same number of threes as Michigan, and Arkansas continues to kind of do that. DJ Wagner's, did he end up 2 for 2 from 3 last night? That kind of drives me nuts.
He was 2 of 3.
2 for 3. Okay, he missed one later. But it's like, dude, you got to get off like 5 or 6. But I think Arkansas, I'm going to kind of just live with their 3-point volume, especially if they're going to be as efficient as they were last night. We've gotten to the point where this isn't going to be an Arkansas team that shoots 35 threes a game and just kills teams with volume. But they've shown they can make threes. This is an improved shooting team that we've seen from Arkansas the last few years for sure. And again, it's all really about the timeliness of it. DJ Wagner, his shot selection is awesome. Boogie Fland, who really didn't shoot it well last night, I feel like his shot selection from 3 is awesome. John L. Davis is obviously going to have plenty of games where he's knocks down threes. Good to see Trevin get one. It's just nice to see Arkansas show that capability with so many different guys. I think it's going to serve them well. And yeah, if they can clean up that first half 3-point defense, which has been kind of a recurring theme that teams will get off from 3 against them. Yeah, if they're getting to the point where they're even just kind of containing folks from 3 and then being efficient on the other end themselves, I'm really starting to buy back into how high this team's ceiling could be.
Shout out to Carter Knox for giving Arkansas a 3 in there as well. And DJ Wagner, here's what we know. He is always good for a long 2. Oops, foot's on the line. He does it every game, and he did it in this one. And the PA guy at Madison Square Garden called him out for it, and it was hilarious.
Oh, yeah, that's brutal.
That was a long 2 for Wagner.
That was when he was really confident. When I mean, you just don't take that type of shot, which I would prefer it not take that type of shot again. Don't take any more step back long 2s. But when he did that, that's when I was like, oh wow, this dude's playing with some confidence.
I also laughed and thought it was weird. Like Juwan Howard was across the way from the Michigan bench. It's like that kind of a little weird, but
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was there, like on court side across the bench from Michigan.
Oh wow, okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I was like, that is something. That is something. I'm sure it's fine and everything, but I was just dying laughing. I'm like, that's got to be weird. Just be like, okay, I got fired out of this, but I'm here at the game supporting Michigan. I bet you he wanted Michigan to win, but maybe a little bit inside. It's like, yeah, glad you guys
It's one of those weird things where obviously he went to school there. So like eventually, in 10 years, he'd be able to look back and be like, okay, I hope Michigan does well. I wonder if he was just like, look, I can contain all this resentment and be mad, but eventually I'm going to want to cheer for my alma mater again. Let me just cut the BS. Let me just start cheering for him. Screw it.
Yeah, and it looks good too. I mean, it's just no hard feelings is what the perception is, at least. So, we'll get into some portal talk here in a bit, folks, as well as a Remember Wednesday presented by Fayetteville Fly Co. A few of your chats, though. Appreciate Lance with the super chat. Very much appreciated, my man. He says, my favorite part was when TB pushed DJ and shouldered the Michigan player. It showed togetherness for your teammate and family. It's starting to gel. And I was that guy. Okay, this is gonna sound horrible of me, but you know how they always talk about the little white guards at Michigan that there's always those hated guys. I feel like Michigan, or at least maybe it's just Big Ten teams in general, have that big brooding like corn-fed white guy that I hate. Yeah. And that's what is it, Cheddar? Yeah, whatever it was. I'm like, dude, I was like, I want to fight you. Like, I don't know what it is, but no, but it was good to see a little bit of that. And I mean, it's not saying that these guys hated each other and this was the moment, like in the movies, they come together as one. I mean, it's what you're going to do for your teammates, but I did like seeing, hey, that ain't flying here. We're going to do some shoving. And is that, guys, if I'm mistaken, is that the first technical on an Arkansas player this year?
I want to say that there was another double tech situation at some point.
Okay. For some reason, I couldn't remember. If it was, though, I am shocked it wasn't Trevin Brazil. He was going to be my money. He was going to be the one I was betting money on to get the first tee.
Well, he was involved in that little skirmish. He gave like a little half-hearted shove to the guy where he's like, hey, don't touch the guy. TB didn't get the first tech. That was come close on some dunks where he's hung on the rim a little bit too long.
Yeah, he did. I love that from DJ there. And I think my favorite thing of the night though was I was just I love post players. I love old school, like two dudes on the block just beating the crap out of each other, getting physical. And man, Vlad Golden and Jonas Adu were just going at it. And Golden was really trying to displace Adu. And so he was like hip dropping him. It was real physical. And then Adu just got pissed at one point and just absolutely lowered the boom on the dude. And he got the offensive foul for it and then just ran right back down the court. But that was like that was sending a message of, hey, you're not going to do that to me or to this team down here in the paint. And that's another sign that Jonas Adu is starting to get his confidence back and start getting his feet back underneath him. We've shouted out everybody else on this team so far in the first 35 minutes. Adu definitely deserves big credit because he was still not all the way back, but he was better. And man, when Arkansas went from down 4 to up in that first few minutes of the second half, it was Adu who sparked all of that on both ends of the floor. He was really good in there. Really good.
Yeah. And I like going back to the physicality. It was weird seeing Brazil and Adu, who I know is physical, but because he's been hurt, you didn't know like how physical he could be. It was really cool seeing Arkansas, which I can't remember the last time Arkansas was the more physical team against another good team, but it was really good to see. A few other chats here. Finch is saying Cal is the Inside Arkansas YouTube live chat when he goes off on his tangents.
I like this.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Also, TB says Norlander said the atmosphere in MSG was weak.
Okay, if that was true, like I don't know if this was just satire here or not. If he said that, he's literally just like he's salty. Like he has an actual vendetta, a real one against Cal and Arkansas because it was a snooze fest, Tennessee and Miami, and he sat there front row and watched that whole thing, and it was just a completely different world for that Arkansas Michigan game. And Michigan traveled well too. I mean, they were outnumbered by Arkansas fans, but they had good representation and they were loud. That was an awesome environment. If he really said that, he's an absolute idiot, and it's just sour grapes.
Maybe he meant like between both games, like the overall, like he was kind of lumping them in together. I didn't listen to what he said, but before one thing everyone said was awesome was the atmosphere.
He was the one when they were previewing the Jimmy. He was like, "This is the least compelling Jimmy V Classic they've ever had," and this might be the first time there were multiple teams in Jimmy V Classic who aren't NCAA tournament teams, and I don't know.
It's just one. It's literally just one. It's just Miami.
Yeah, and so he was already on that, so I wouldn't be totally stunned, but I just don't know how anyone who was in there or who watched that game even on television could be like, "Oh yeah, the atmosphere."
I just don't understand how you could see the matchups even preseason before it ended up happening, even going into this week and seeing these two games and just be like, boring. Wake me up when it's over. It's like, what?
Yeah, the number one team in the country playing, and then this Arkansas Michigan game. It's like, oh yeah,
and who knew that Miami? And who knew Miami was going to be as bad as they were? You know, like I mean, come on now, that's just dumb. Also, I wanted to bring this up from David. He says saw a Rhoback hoodie on the guy who kept showing an MSG last night with the I've always hated / loved Cal tee. Yeah, I've seen those before. And here's a funny thing. I know that guy personally. Shout out to Jeff Hildebrand. Wow. And what's funny is when I originally was going to try to go, but obviously there's so much busy things going on right now. He and the other couple they were with and some other, that was the group I was going to be with. So it could have been me. It could have been me doing that, but it's okay, Jeff. I'll let you have it. But yeah, that was a pretty cool thing.
I want to tell you guys a story real quick. Obviously I was in there doing the post-game show, and then they literally ran me out of Madison Square Garden. Like I was not joking around when we were on the post-game live, and I was talking to Andrew. I was like, hey, they're trying to kick me out of here. No sooner than we got off, like they were breaking down the table, and there was just the security, the usher that was there he was standing by me with his arms folded in front of him the entire time that we were doing the post-game show. It was super uncomfortable, just standing over the top of me. I'm like, dude, bro, I'm working, man. Like that's just kind of part of the deal here. Anyway, he like escorted me out of there as soon as we were done. And it was like, here's the elevator, street level, get out.
Wow.
It was nuts. And so anyway, I went out there and I did the report card out front. It was fun. It was fine, whatever. But Michelle went to that Jack Doyle spot, like that Arkansas bar down there after the game. It's where they did like the reception beforehand. And there's just apparently just tons and tons of Arkansas fans in there afterwards. And so she was just sitting there until I finished up. I was like, hey, if you're going to be roaming around New York, you might as well be around a bunch of Arkansas fans. But anyway, they're in there going nuts, calling the hogs and everything else. And obviously it was like the place for Arkansas fans to go, but there were like locals there too, like New Yorkers, and like legitimately people, asking her like, so what is going on? Like what's going on? What is this tribal chant? Like, people just didn't get it. And so she just found herself as Arkansas fan / native New Yorker trying to explain to people why Razorback fans are insane. It's pretty awesome.
Bridging the gap and bringing us all together.
Yeah.
I don't know. When you started that story though, Chris, I was hoping that like every person you said, whether it's security guard or the people, to be like, and just like the worst, thickest New York said, say, hey, what's going on over here, man? What are these Razorbacks doing here, man? Come on. Like just something's like Ninja Turtles type stuff. I was really hoping that they were all that.
The dude legitimately looked like Morpheus, man. He's just standing right over the top of my shoulder the whole time. I'm like,
okay.
Right,
also, real quick, I know because we got to move on with Remember Wednesday. Can I ask? And if you don't want to name names, that's fine. Who was the dude in the press conference that kept talking about how he just tweeted this today? I don't know. You know that guy?
I don't know who that was.
Listen, if anybody knows about promoting themselves and getting out in front of everybody, it's me because I'm obnoxious with it. I've been told, but I don't think I could ever just be like asking coaches and players to be like, I tweeted out something today about you two, saying that you two are the best guards in all of college basketball. When I tweeted that out, that's what I thought. So what are your thoughts on my tweet that I put out today? It's like, what? Who are you?
Please engage with me.
Yeah, it was so funny. But I didn't know if you knew if I was a national guy or what. I had no idea. But
I'm not sure who that was.
Though, speaking of Arkansas guards, I've seen a lot of people that are doing the Nelly Davis thing again. The like,
I was going to bring this up too.
What's going on? Guys, the last 2 games he played very well. He was, the last 2 games before that, he was 5 of 7, 4 of 7. So it's like, it's not really like a thing where we got to do like, well, how are we going to get him going? He just happened to play bad last night, and he's been bad in a lot of games this year. But it's like, his role is going to stay the same. It's just a matter of if he plays well. He just didn't play well last night.
He played bad last night. His shot was flat. It really was coming out, and so he probably got on the Noah machine and worked on that. But he played bad last night, and he hit a critical 3-pointer as Arkansas was extending their lead in the second half. He had a critical and one when Michigan had cut the lead to 1 possession that extended things back out with about 3 minutes left. And he got beat on that last play. He got back cut on that last play on the sideline and sprinted his ass back and got the deflection that won the game for Arkansas. So if that's the guy that you all want to villainize after a huge win last night, have at it. But they would not have won the game without the contributions that he did make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just think it's just because I'm not speaking for everybody, but man, whenever you have a lot of expectations coming in and they saw him at major college basketball, they saw that how he was, the number 1 transfer portal player, and they at least have an idea about how much he's making in NIL and all of this. It's 20 points a game. Once you get that, I'm not satisfied.
And nobody knows what kind of money he's getting. They're all just speculating.
Yeah, exactly.
How about just don't be miserable? Just enjoy a win.
You won.
Just enjoy a win.
It didn't cost you the game. You have other great players.
I get being like upset of like, hey, I expected this guy to be first team All-American and all that. All right, that's all perfectly fine. But it's like he had been playing well the last couple of games. Like it's not like he's incapable of contributing for Arkansas. He's had some nice moments here lately. He had some nice moments in that game, like you said, Curtis. And so it's like, I don't know. I get like if you want him to be better, sure, but it's like, I don't know. I think it's very clear that his role is just different with this Arkansas team. He's not going to be a ball dominant scorer that they run offense through. He's just going to kind of be a guy that gets points when he needs to and plays within the offense. And I feel like he's done a pretty good job of doing that here lately. Just didn't knock down a few shots last night.
A few other chats too, because I know we're getting to Remember Wednesday. And have some fun with that. Also, with that being some transfer portal updates, because they know that there's going to be some people that are really anxious to see what's going on there. But a few more things here. Logan, also shout out to him for a super chat. This one's not a super chat, but I'm still going to give you a shout out. It says, if DJ plays like that the rest of the year, do you think he makes it into late first round talks?
I don't know. I mean, when I see DJ Wagner, even at his best, what I see is maybe like a really, really good 4-year college guard kind of guy. Now, is he a good enough player to where if he, starts doing this more often and more frequently and kind of has that breakout sophomore campaign that he could get, maybe second round draft pick or even decide like, hey, I'm going to go start my pro career, because I do think he can, kind of grind his way through that path. But yeah, I don't know about first round. The only thing I will say is he is DJ Wagner, and there's a lot of mystique. That name carries a lot. And right or wrong, if he continues to play really well, and like if he winds up shooting 35, 36% from 3 this season, he'll get some sniffs. But I don't know that I personally see it.
Y'all ready for this? Because I agree with your statement, Curtis. DJ Wagner is the basketball Jaden Hazelwood, where he's a 5-star recruit that everyone kind of views as this like mega uber talented guy. And he's not that. He's not like this one and done talent. And Jaden Hazelwood was not this like immense talent. What he ended up being, Jaden Hazelwood, was a damn good college receiver whose some of his best attributes were like toughness, his tenacity, his physicality. And I feel like DJ, some of the stuff that makes him the best player, that makes him special is his mentality, his tenacity, driving, his aggressiveness, and his ability to just kind of know when it's the moment. But I don't view him as this uber talented guard that like has this massively high ceiling, but I do think he's going to be a very good college player. And I think if he plays the way he played last night, the rest of the year, he could definitely like work his way into some draft talks, but I don't know if he's a first round guy or like anything, if he's a lottery or anything like that. I think he's more of just a overqualified second or third guard.
It's a good comp. I like that, that little Hazelwood comp there. And I think he's also probably the closest thing Arkansas has right now to, like the on-floor leadership, like the veteran, the voice, the guy that gets everybody in the huddle. Nelly Davis actually does a really, really good job with that too. But DJ kind of seems like one of the voices out there on the floor for Arkansas right now.
And it doesn't seem to bother Nelly or DJ that Boogie is that uber talented guy that we're talking about. That might be the lottery pick. That might be the first round pick and all that. And it doesn't seem like it really affects them at all. It seems like they're all kind of okay with the hierarchy. Boogie is the guy. DJ is the number 2 guy who really steps up when he needs to. And Nelly is kind of the 3 that just roams and gets in where he fits in.
And see, and that's the thing too. I know you guys talked about like after a win, your 24-hour rule, Andrew, as you mentioned. That's how and this is just me with basketball in general. If they win, especially if it's a good win, I'm not criticizing. You can say, hey, this didn't go well, this play or whatever. But I'm like, I don't care, man. I don't care what Nelly Davis did. I don't care. They won. And you know what? As long as Nelly Davis or somebody's not coming out after the game throwing a fit and being like, I need the ball more. And then who cares? You won. You won. Smile. You can't smile much as a Razorback fan these days. But this one you can. So just good vibes, positive vibes. It's Christmas. We gotta get in the spirit. You gotta feel good about it. All right, we'll get to more of your chats, folks. And we're gonna have some portal things to talk about too, as well. But it is a Remember Wednesday presented by Fayetteville Fly Co. here on the show. And just want to remind everybody that we always appreciate their partnerships. This little Rod Hog shirt that I got going on. They just came out with a Rod Hog hat. So if you haven't seen those, if you like this, but you like the hat style, they got those as well. So you got to check them out at fflyco.com. Free shipping on all orders through Friday at midnight. So this week, free shipping on all orders. Guaranteed delivery before Christmas if order is placed this week. So if you're looking to get a Christmas gift, got to do it right now because that'll guarantee it before Christmas arrival. And 20 to 30% off select items for last-minute Christmas shopping. And even more because we have this promo code, HOGSBY20, 20% off. So that's on top of that. So 20 to 30% off select items. If you use that promo code HOGSBY20, you get an additional 20% off. It's that simple. So check them out today. It's Fayetteville Fly Co. and fflyco.com. All right. So, there's still some stuff going on with the portal right now, which I know we'll get into and everything, but nothing happened. I wanted to just say this. Remember when yesterday, that day when it was madness and Braylon Russell was in the portal and then he wasn't and then all of that. I'm just going to remember that day for a long time. I thought about that this morning when I woke up. I'm like, that was the most insane thing I've seen in a long time. And that was a lot of fun and really crazy. So I wanted to bring that up as a remember when, even though it was a day ago. You got to remember that.
Yeah, that was the one that broke me. Like it was getting off the train at Madison Square Garden and saw that he left the portal. And by broke me, I mean, like that was the point where I went from just being pretty irritated about the way all this is going down. And, it's like, what the hell is going on with this program? And when I saw that, I was just like, dude, I don't care. I do not care. In fact, I text you guys with some very strong wording. I do not care about this right now. It's just insane. And that, like, it's a microcosm of some of the stuff going on at Arkansas. It's just like, I mean, it's still clown shoes, man. But that is a very good example of just how ridiculous the entire landscape of college football and transfer portal is right now. I was just like, all right, this is dumb. I'm turning this off of my mind for the night, not dealing with it anymore.
Yeah,
And I will remember it forever.
Yeah, I will remember. Yesterday was honestly just a legendary day in general, just from start to finish, from the scoop off between Trey Biddy and Mason Choate, the entering of the portal, the withdrawing from the portal. Then you finish it up with a late night basketball game mixed in a little bombastic there. By the way, y'all know anybody, any outlet in the state producing football, basketball, and baseball content, heat all at the same time, all in the same day? No, anybody doing that. But I will remember yesterday too. But yeah, it was funny when me and John were talking about Braylon Russell's triumphant return. We started talking about the actual football aspect of it, and it's funny because like we had all this drama, all this whatever, and we're like, okay, so the result is Arkansas gets a running back that had 300 yards and 2 touchdowns back. It's like all this drama over the third team running back. It's the weirdest thing in the world, but it's just the world we live in.
I know. Well, that's what I was saying. Like yesterday, if you just took away all the drama, it was a good thing that happened. Like if you just would have, skipped, almost like editing, cut out the video, but skipped it from when you woke up to when he announced you heard he's in the portal and then, he's back in. Everyone would have been like, okay, good. That's good. That's a good thing. But then because of the drama that added to it, it was almost like a sour taste. And of course, we haven't heard anything again about what happened, or maybe we never will. But it was just really fun seeing that. And then former players going after people too. And just wild, man. The transfer portal will bring out some of the worst, but some of the funniest in people. That's really what my main thing is on this. It's just so funny how it continues to get crazy like that. But yeah, it was a good time. I also wanted to bring up for Remember Wednesday. Do you remember when bowl games used to matter? Or at least we're in a way of not saying they don't matter because we talk about the practices and how important. I'm talking about legitimately waking up and being like, man, I cannot wait to see what team or what bowl game my team's in, and hopefully get a good matchup. I can't wait to go. It doesn't matter where it's at. I'm going to go. Here's the connections here. And then you get an opponent and it's all the players playing in it at once. It's just bowl games. It's amazing. And I get it. I'm not saying that it needs to get back to that, but it is so funny how, as a Razorback fan, I specifically remember how excited I was that Arkansas was playing in the Cotton Bowl against Oklahoma. Like that was just such a big deal to me. And Arkansas went 7-4. So it's like, I just remember that, and I kind of miss those times, but it seems like it was eons ago when bowl games used to matter.
Yeah.
New Year's Day
those days.
Mm-hmm. New Year's Day Bowl. That even used to be a phrase, was a New Year's Day Bowl as a team. That mean you made it. That mean you might as well have been a playoff team in that regard if you did that. So yeah, that was a good one for that.
There was one day when I was a kid, I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and I remember being pissed that I had to go to my friend's birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese because it was on January 1st. And it was like, I couldn't watch all the bowl game. I was like, I'm supposed to not watch the Capital One Bowl, Mom? What the hell? I was so pissed that I had to go to a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, which, as a kid, going to Chuck E. Cheese is the goal. That's where you want to go every day. But on that day, I was sad at Chuck E. Cheese because I wanted to watch bowl games. That would never happen. If anybody wants to go to Chuck E. Cheese on January 1st this year, I'm there. I won't complain at all.
I just love the fact that, first off, isn't Chuck E. Cheese, is it where a kid can be a kid? Wasn't that their phrase?
Where a kid can be a kid.
Yeah. Because I felt the same way, Andrew, growing up. Chuck E. Cheese was literally heaven as a child. But also going to Chuck E. Cheese.
Eli Drinkwitz loves Chuck E. Cheese.
I can see why.
We just go to Choctaw.
Yeah. Well, he's as much as he's played the animatronic in the band there on the stage himself. I can see why Eli Drinkwitz likes it. But yeah, that was so. First off, another thing, why January 1st? That feels like the worst day to have a birthday party. January 1st. Is that like,
I don't remember who it was or why it was happening, but
okay. No, well, that's just, that's awful. I did want to give a shout out, another super chat. Hey, Sasha, thank you so much. Seriously. Thank you so much for that. We are very blessed and we really appreciate it. They didn't add it. Yeah, I got you. They didn't add it, but into the chat, but says, love you guys. Listen every day. Thank you, Sasha, for real. That's very nice of you to do. Very nice.
Very cool.
And,
appreciate that.
Yeah. Appreciate you hanging out with us. And we're doing it every day. And in fact, when I got my haircut yesterday, which, thanks guys for noticing. But when I got my haircut yesterday, the girl that was doing it, she's like, what is it like being on camera for like hours upon hours a day? I haven't really thought about it. I was like, man, this is like transfer portal stuff. I feel like I'm looking at a camera a lot more than I am my own dog each and every day. But it's what we do here, man.
You really are. And it's It's different, man. It really is. It took some getting used to, like when we shifted over to doing this, because before we started up, I mean, I was doing, and me and Andrew both were doing like a Hog Hoops Live, like we were doing a podcast and everything like that. But when you not only have your voice on the airwaves every day, but also your face in front of a camera, every single day for hours, it's different than writing, man. Like you can go in and edit things, change things. Once you say something and it's out there, it's out there. There is no going back. And it's been really interesting for us, I think, as we're going through this transfer portal thing, to navigate it the right way. And sometimes I feel like we do a great job of it. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't consider that might happen an hour later. But with guys going in, guys coming out and everything like that, it's a challenge to talk about it effectively and fairly and continue to run it back. It's different. And it's something that I didn't really consider. It took some getting used to being on camera a lot. And now I feel like I'm almost making another type of adjustment as we get into this and just covering this thing in a way that people just really don't do. It's different. Yeah. And it's challenging and it's fun, but yeah, man, we just got to sit up here and lay it all out there with our face in front of the world. So it ain't as easy as people think it is, man.
It's definitely different. And for the most part, it's much better. Like I enjoy this a lot more than like, this is the most fun I've ever had covering sports. Like this is the most, I mean, not saying this is the best time in my life, but it might be the best time in my life. But it is very enjoyable. But I will say there's about once a week, I'll just be laying in bed. I'm like, did I say something stupid? Like, did I say like, I'm surprised, honestly, that I haven't said anything that's like really got me in trouble yet.
I'm surprised you haven't said anything that's really gotten you in trouble yet.
I mean, true. I dropped that one F-bomb that one time, but John giggled, so it's all good. But no, yeah, I'm there every now and then. That does kind of like the weight of it kind of stresses me out, where I start looking at our numbers. I'm like, oh wow, X amount of people watch this. Oh crap, wait a minute, X amount of people watch this. Like I start getting nervous about it, but no, it's a lot of fun. And honestly, I just like that we have such a direct relationship with the people that are viewing us, that are watching us, and we have like a direct fan, like avenue to the fan base. I really like that, and I think the fans, I can't speak for them, but I would assume they like it. And I always say, like, when I was a kid, I wish something like this existed, and so I'm glad that we do exist.
Yeah, me too. And again, like Spectre Streams, my man, thank you so much. Like you guys are being very generous today, and we very much appreciate each and every one of you. But thank you, Spectre Stream. Says, nice haircut, John. Keep up the great work, gentlemen. Hey, I'll get a haircut again today, man. If you need me to,
Arkansas needs to beat Michigan every day.
Like, no kidding, man.
We just have a big win in Madison Square Garden every day.
John, is that super chat over or under the amount of money it costs you to get that haircut?
It is well under. Shelby does a great job. So shout out to her. But yeah,
that's including tip, I assume.
Yeah, including tip. Okay, well, here's the thing. If I was getting anywhere close to $100 haircut and my hair looked like this, then I'm getting screwed.
I just wanted to put it out there for you to say, man. Like,
no, like there's just no way I would ever consider anything like that. I don't have enough hair to make it that expensive, for crying out loud. So, but thank you, though, Spectre Streams, for real.
Seriously.
Thank you for that super chat. Very nice of you. Did want to give a shout out also to our guy Coulter, who is part of Fayetteville Fly Co. Here on Remember Wednesday, but said, nice haircut, John. The chat noticed. Obviously the chat noticed, but we appreciate it.
Fayetteville Fly Co. Speaking of, I was wearing my Rod Hog hoodie yesterday on the airplane, and had multiple people that were like, dude, where did you get that? And I pointed them in that direction. And Michelle, you were mentioning Rhoback earlier. Michelle found somebody, an Arkansas fan, with the Rhoback logo, and she was trying to track them down through the crowd in New York. She was wanting to be like, hey, I don't know where you got that, but if you use Hogs by 90 or Hogs by 20, you get 20% off your. Michelle is
she's a company gal.
Look, I know that we don't do the nepotism thing, but we might have to get her on payroll if she keeps it up. I mean, she's doing a great job.
I don't know. With her money, I don't know if we can afford her. Like the way she's flying, I can't send her to Rome. Going the other, like here in a day or two.
She has expensive taste, that's for sure. It's crazy, man.
When is she going to Rome? Is that next week? Is that like New Year's?
She's going to be gone Christmas through New Year's, so I'm going to be leaning on you guys as family, just so you know.
I'm sorry. Like,
you want to go to Memphis?
That's the way it's got to be.
She doesn't get to go to Memphis for work, though.
There's nothing I'd rather do, Andrew.
Sheesh. I did also want to give a shout out to where was it at? Oh yeah. This came from Luke, where he says RIP to Curtis's knees from that short ass table from last night.
Bro.
Yeah, I saw that picture. That cracked me up, man. Like
I couldn't-
everyone gives you a hard time for your, or not a hard time, but like talks about your height. Like you in that, if I was the only picture I ever saw of you in my life, I'm like, Curtis is literally 7 feet tall from that table.
It was crazy, man. Like they had it was on bleachers, right? Kind of, and they had the table set up, but it was on below the bleacher below, but then you had the chair on the one above. So it made no sense whatsoever. And they had the really tight covers on top of it to where you couldn't even really get your legs underneath it that well. It was brutal. And then I was put on the spot where the legs of the two tables met. So like I had to be almost like spread eagle and trying to get down underneath that thing. I'm doing the post game show like lurch, all leaned over. It was rough, man. And on the one time when I got so many people taking pictures of me and sending it to me, which is a weird thing to have happen, John, I know you're familiar.
Too often.
The posture was just horrible, man. My back's paying for it today. I felt really bad because whoever was there for the University of Arkansas doing like their social media stuff was seated beside me, and she came and sat down, and I was just all hunched over, and I moved when the Tennessee game finished and we had some more room. And I was like, I promise I'm not trying to like get away from you. I'm not trying to be rude here, but like I gotta have some area to spread out. I'm sorry. This is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I just hate that because it's a figure Madison Square Garden. You'd have all the finest of amenities. But I guess not in that particular case though. There was another one too. Oh yeah. Shout out to JP. Just says my 3 brothers I never had. Thanks Inside Arkansas. Thank you, JP.
There you go.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Also, Bill says, I was afraid for Curtis. He was going to get robbed on the street. I was just going to say, well, he better had some canned goods in his hands. That was going to happen. So just saying.
I was wondering how that was going to work out. But right there in front of Madison Square Garden, it wasn't that bad. I was just kind of walking a loop around the big area out there out front. And then, you know, like if I've got the selfie stick, then everybody can see behind me. I can see ahead of me. So if I've seen any riffraff going on, I just kind of turn and go the other way. But it was, I don't know that I would, like, I didn't feel unsafe, but I wouldn't recommend looking like an obvious tourist down there. That kind of makes you a target. I'm a big guy, so maybe I can get away with it a little bit, but yeah, it was kind of nuts.
But I feel like you since Michelle's from basically New York, you're not a tourist, you know?
This is true.
Now that you've been there twice, you're officially not a tourist.
I kind of feel like a local.
I would be a tourist. I would stick out like such a sore thumb. I wouldn't know what to do, man. So I may need to really break myself in nice and slow. If that's what's going to happen. A few other chats here too that we'll have, because going back to the Michigan thing, saying that apparently Howard's son is on the roster. Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either, but it makes sense.
I knew that.
Okay. Yeah, that's my bad. So that makes sense.
Pippen. I didn't realize that Pippen was still on was playing for them. One of the mini Pippins. Not to be confused with Scotty Jr., but what's his name? Justin Pippen?
Yes, I think Justin Pippen's his name. Yeah. Yeah, he was on there. Also, Colin said that Billy got a tech against Baylor for throwing a ball. We were talking about tech. So, okay. Yeah. Cool. See, chat's not always a cesspool. Sometimes it can be helpful.
We're wondering about something and the chat immediately tells us. They're like, actually this. I'm like, oh yeah, there you go.
I feel like such a lazy piece of crap. I'm like, I could literally just type in 5 words and get there on Google. But I'm like, hey, chat, just let me know.
I'm on hogstats.com right now. Which, by the way, I guess we got completely off topic. I had one Remember Wednesday that I wanted to throw at you guys.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Y'all remember when Arkansas beat Michigan in January 21st, 2012 to be exact?
Absolutely, I do.
I had actually forgotten, remember when Arkansas lost in Ann Arbor a couple of years later? I completely blacked that game out of my memory. Arkansas apparently lost 80-67. But in this Michigan game that Arkansas won 66-64 at home in Bud Walton Arena, the leading scorer was BJ Young with 15 minutes. I want to give you guys a chance. Can you name the guy who led Arkansas in minutes this game? Not points, minutes.
Minutes, I would say it would have to be either Julissa Nobles.
Close, he was second.
Or it would have to be, was it Kai Madden?
No, he played a good bit. He played 26 minutes in this game. Rough game. He went 3 for 9.
Hunter Mickelson?
Hunter Mickelson had a good game, but he did not lead them in minutes either.
Hold on. Is it Sanchez?
No. Think about the most average guard Arkansas basketball
Oh.
has had in the last 20 years.
Gosh, Ricky Scott.
No, not him either, but close. You're
What
getting
in the
closer. You're getting
world?
close.
Is it Madrakis Wade? I'm running out of
Wade.
Okay, I was about to say.
And I love Madrakis Wade. He had 12 points in this game, went 3 of 6 from. He had a Nelly Davis type of game. 3 for 6 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, 12 points in 34 minutes. For some reason, led the team in minutes. BJ Young had 15 points in 31 minutes. But Madrakis Wade played a full 34.
Wow. Yeah, I remember I was front row in the student section for that game, of course. But here's the thing about that game. That's a great Remember Wednesday, by the way, Andrew, because Arkansas won. It was a great game. It was Mike Anderson's first year. It was also the game where Dorial Green Beckham officially was there in the arena visiting. Ooh. And they brought in all the recruits. And I'll never forget, I can say this now. You weren't allowed to have signs or anything saying names of players or anything. You weren't allowed. The NCAA did not allow that. Well, we worked with certain people within the U of A. We snuck in the signs and they gave it to us. We made signs for like Dorial Green Beckham and all that. And man, the compliance person came flying in when they saw us holding them up. So that happened. Torrey Hunter was there. He had nothing to do with Razorbacks or anything, but he was there in person. Got to meet him. So that was cool. Also, I wanted to beat the crap out of Nick Novak. I don't know if or Zach Novak.
Zach Novak, yes.
Mm-hmm.
He led Michigan in scoring in this game.
Yep, because he had a hard foul on BJ Young. And also, again, I remember so much about this game. And also, it was an iconic moment for me because it was on CBS, and on the call was Bill Rafferty and Kevin Harlan. Just big time. And that Arkansas team did not deserve all of that because that team was not good, but it was so funny.
Michigan was ranked 20th. This Michigan team was nasty, dude. You had Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yep.
You had Trey Burke. You had the Zach Novak kid who was really good. And that's pretty much it. But, I mean, they were ranked 20th. I think they made the tournament that year. Trey Burke went 6 for 19 in this game. Played 39 minutes. Arkansas clamped him.
Yeah, and I don't know. And it was also funny trying to hear like Bill Rafferty talk about Jalissa Nobles about how good he is and stuff. And I'm like, man, you just met him today? You just heard about this kid today? You have no idea. But I appreciate it either way. Dude, but that was a fun game.
Nobles, he started a real like run of Arkansas guards who couldn't do anything but pass. Just straight up traditional throwback point guards who would just set the table.
And that was also the same season. I know we're talking about a lot about this team that nobody cares about, but that was also that season that Madrakis Wade led the nation in 3-point percentage. He hit 49% from 3 that year. The next year, hit like 36. Just unexplainable. But yeah, that was a great Remember Wednesday. That was a fun game, and I wish they would go back to those home and homes. That was the last legitimate big non-conference home and home I think Arkansas's had in basketball. So, but I guess I skipped over you, Curse. I'm sorry, but do you have any Remember Wednesdays? I guess before we move on.
Well, I lost my train of thought too, and I had a good one that I can't remember. But you were talking about the home and homes. Like, do we remember when the last time Arkansas won one of these marquee neutral site games? And I'm not talking about like, oh, they beat San Diego State in Maui or whatever, like a one-off like that. I am not counting a win over Porter Moser's Oklahoma teams at the BOK Center.
Well, they only got one of those anyway. like
a marquee matchup like that on a neutral floor. I mean, when's the last time they won one of those?
I'm hoping. I'm on Hogstats right now. I'm wondering if they have this anywhere, like a tab for this. Which, by the way, shout out to hogstats.com. What a legend.
Should.
Yeah. So
they have like series results.
So you're saying no, like not like the Maui Invitational or something. You're talking about home and homes, just straight home and homes.
No, like just like a neutral site game.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Like, like what they did, like when they played Baylor the other, earlier in the year or whatever, or Illinois, for that game. Like, when have they done that on a neutral floor and won?
To be fair, I don't know. Like recently, like outside of the last like 5 years, they haven't historically done a ton of them. Like I don't remember Mike Anderson's team. I remember them doing some home and homes, but like they went to like Iowa State and stuff like that. They hosted Syracuse. I don't know if like Mike Anderson's teams played a ton of neutral site one-off games.
Yeah. And like I was looking at some of that too. I see people talking about the PK80 and like that was one of those little tournament things, and they got some cool wins there. And they've had some, like the San Diego State game was cool, but
I saw Caleb says Minnesota was the last one. I remember they played Minnesota, and because that was when Richard Pitino was the coach there.
I think that was a home and home, though.
Is that
right?
a home and home? Yeah,
I thought so too.
That was the debut of Sharkensaw. I'm pretty sure. Which,
Could
by the
be.
way, shout out to the actual Sharkensaw who's in the chat. But like, I think that Minnesota game back in whatever, like 2014, 15 or whatever, was when they started doing the shark thing.
Mm-hmm.
That may be it. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to really think about that, and going back to those like true, legitimate neutral site games that they've done.
Yeah. I don't know.
But just away from Bud Walton, it was nice to see him get a win because I guess this was their first. No, they won. Yeah, yeah. It was the first win away from Bud Walton.
Well, they won at Miami.
That's right.
Yeah. It's been a big week for this. These are some road warriors now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. So yeah, that was a huge shout out there. I like that. It was fun doing a little Remember Wednesday action, talking about all that. All right, we'll get back to your chats, folks. A few other ones that we want to dive into because again, I know people want to at least talk a little bit about football and get into that. But real quick, Hayden says, "Did y'all see the Hunter Yurchek's phone number got leaked and he's being spammed by heated Hog fans?" Okay, if this is true, I haven't seen it, but if it's true, that's stupid, that's terrible, and it doesn't need to happen at all. So I'm hoping that's not. I'm not saying you're wrong, Hayden, but if that's true, that's stupid. And whoever's doing that is very stupid.
I saw a little bit of this. I hope it's fake.
I saw Hunter Yurchek a couple times last night.
Red pants.
He maybe I'm just reading. He didn't look enthralled in the locker room after the game or like during the game. I mean, he just did. I don't know. The man's going through it.
Yep.
I'm not saying I feel sorry for him. I'm just saying you could tell by looking at him there, he's going through it, dude.
Yep.
He's been traveling a lot lately, man. He's been busy.
I'll tell you what, nobody was chewing gum faster he was, though, man. He's a gum chewer. That dude was chewing it fast in that locker room after the game. So, yeah. But, and then also, I wanted to bring this question up to you before we move on to football. He says, Curtis, did he see any interaction with Jonas Adu and his former team or coach while you were there?
I did not see any of that, and I was kind of keeping my eye on it, like maybe in the brief time, like right after Tennessee finished, before Arkansas got started. Didn't see any of that. I saw Jonell Davis and Dusty May dap it up. I saw him and Vlad Golden kind of looked like they were joking with each other and maybe trash talking each other a little bit, but they were both laughing about it at one point at the free throw line, which was cool. It was right after Vlad missed a free throw. So I don't know if Nelly said something to him or whatever, but they had a little exchange there, which was cool. But no, I didn't see any of that with Adu.
Okay. All right. So moving on to the football side of things, folks, as of right now, where it stands at 1:13 this afternoon on a Wednesday, December 11th, there has been no further major additions into the transfer portal from Arkansas. There's not much left, but as at this point in time, there's just not that right now. But there were some things that, of course, they're falling out from everything that happened yesterday with the Braylon Russell situation. This comment from Smitty says, I'm assuming he means Braylon Russell.
It's a great comment.
Yeah, but he says Braylon Russell made the right decision to stay at Arkansas and be developed for him to go into the portal next year for Ole Miss.
Ryan Russell plus the plural plus the Old Miss. That's just A+. That's good stuff right there. And that's just funny. That's objectively funny.
Yeah, I just I saw that too, and I was like, man, I bet you anything because I've been there before, buddy. If you're doing talk to text, that's probably what it was because that's what's happened to me before too. So, but also just looking at the tracker and everything of where it's at, and also who's been offered by every position. There's a few players of note that are being mentioned, and one of them, of course, is the offensive lineman. I forgot how long it goes, but I remember somebody jumping into the chat and saying that Shaq McCrory, the guy from Oregon, 6'8", 360. Is somebody that they really wanted to pay attention to. And looks like not only does he have an offer, but it looks like there's going to be an official visit coming up this week on Thursday. So for those of you wanting some at least for that guy who wanted him, you got an offer and you got a visit out of it too.
Well, I'll tell you, like I'm very, very intrigued by that. I mean, I do think that Arkansas's got to approach this in one of two ways, maybe both. Like you're losing a couple guys on the offensive line who are multi-year solid SEC starters. You need to replace experience. I think they're going to have to do that, like go out and get a guy who has a bunch of starts and who's done this. But you can also go and get immense talent. And that's what you have in this guy. So he didn't play much at Oregon or whatever. So there's not going to be a lot of experience there, but it's a top 100 former recruit or whatever, highly, highly sought after guy and just a freaking mountain of a man. And so would certainly be somebody where a ton of potential exist, and you see if you can untap it. So like sign me up for that if they can get this dude locked down.
What is he, 6'8", 375? Is that what we determined? Or somewhere in that ballpark, maybe give or take a pound or two or whatever. But yeah, former top 100 recruit. And he was a true freshman this past year, correct?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, I think he was a class of 23 guys. So
it's like, yeah, there's no way as a true freshman offensive lineman you were about to go. I mean, to start anywhere at a high major school, but definitely not at Oregon. So like, it's not a knock on him that he didn't play at Oregon. But that is worth noting that like, it's not like you're getting, we'll see what he looks like when he gets to campus. If he's a guy that competes to start at right tackle or left or whatever, potentially. But I think if you're looking at this from the Arkansas perspective, perhaps he could be like the offensive line version of Landon Jackson, where you took a guy who was a massive recruit who didn't really play at LSU, and Landon was banged up in his case, but you're able to develop him over the course of 2-3 years, which with a guy who is a redshirt freshman going into next year, you would think you'd be able to do that. I think that would be a very, very worthwhile pickup. Another guy I feel like we should mention is A&M tight end Jaden Platt, who is, according to, I believe it was 24/7 or somebody that reported that. Yeah, according to CBS and 24/7, he is visiting Arkansas this weekend as well. So you've got two very talented players coming this weekend. Not a ton of experience, not a ton of like, you're going to need to go out there and get other guys. But I think that's both of those guys are worthwhile adventures. You've also got the DB visiting, I believe, today. Or is it Sharp that's visiting today?
Sharp is visiting today.
Sharp is. So yeah, you could. I mean, we could be on commitment watch here in the next 24 hours, but we could also be on commitment watch like throughout the weekend. So there's starting to be some movement in terms of Arkansas maybe getting some additions rather than exits.
Yeah, McCrory. I think I called him McCray. I shouldn't have done that because McCrory is almost just like my hometown McCrory. But him and Platt, like you have to go get guys like that who, like there's probably a reason why they were ranked so high in recruiting rankings and everything. Big time talents who just, it doesn't have to be that they haven't panned out. Maybe just because they're young, they haven't had opportunity. You got to go get dudes like that and see if you can capitalize off of them. And then you supplement with guys who are more sure things, who might not have as high of a ceiling, but you just kind of know what you're going to get. You need that baseline. And if you hit on some of these guys who, folks wish they could have for a couple years and really get that potential tapped out of them, then that's how you might be onto something. But I don't know how many of the top end transfers who are, while this guy was a star, he's going to command over $1 million in the portal because he had, 1,200 receiving yards in the SEC this year, or whatever. I don't know how many of those guys Arkansas is going to get, but you go get the, you're not going to like this, but you go get the group of 5 guys who are really proven, or the guys who, maybe were on the 2 deep at an SEC school, just guys that, hey, I know what I'm getting here, hit on some potential, and then maybe you're onto something. They got a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw somebody make the tweets like, I think Arkansas is trying to do like Moneyball for the NIL and players. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't know if that's what you think. I know Brad Pitt's not walking through that door and just going to help you out with Jonah Hill and get you a championship winning caliber team. I'd rather be the Dodgers right now, to be honest. The team that just won the World Series and buys a lot of their players. I would just like to be that instead. So, but yeah, there's going to be constant changes there, and of course, getting in there with the offers and visits and everything, and we'll keep you updated on a lot of that, folks, as time goes on here on Inside Arkansas. I did want to bring this up, and I don't know if you guys got pissed about this because I usually get pissed about nonsense. This pissed me off. The coaches all SEC team came out, and Andrew Armstrong was second team all SEC. Okay, I understand he only got 1 touchdown. I get it, but he led the team. They led the entire league in SEC, in the entire SEC, in not only receptions, but in receiving yards. And according to my buddy Devin, who is, again, numbers and all that, is the first player since the second player since 1966, when wide receiver first became a coach's vote, that has led the SEC in receptions and yards and was not a first team all SEC player. So that just really drove me crazy. I think Andrew Armstrong deserved it. Could have gotten the end zone more, but still.
Is he just being penalized because Arkansas wasn't that good? But then again, they were 6-6 and stuff. That was weird. And wasn't it Luther Burden that got the first team nod? One of the first team nods.
Didn't lead his team in receiving.
Didn't lead his team in receiving. Was one of the most underwhelming, overly hyped guys coming into the season. I know he had 6 touchdowns or something, big whoop. He had like 600 receiving yards. That just like if there were another guy who had at least, like comparable, but maybe slightly less numbers on a really, really good team and they got the nod over Armstrong, I'd be a little bit more apt, despite even what John just said about the stats there, to be like, whatever, that sucks, but I get it. This was just stupid. It was just bad.
Yeah, it was bad. And by the way, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the one touchdown is probably what really got him in trouble. And of course, Arkansas being 6-6 doesn't help. I would also just like to say, while we were doing the show, though, the AP did release their all SEC team. So you can't trust those coaches, but you can trust the media, because the media had Andrew Armstrong as a first team selection. They also had Jaquin Jackson as a second team selection.
Wow.
Along with Landon Jackson. I believe those were the 3. And I think they only do 2 teams. They don't do 3. But good to see him. He at least got a first team nod from somebody. So he's a surefire all SEC guy, which he obviously deserves to be. He's one of the best receivers in the conference. I mean, led the freaking conference in receiving. So I think it worked out okay. And yeah, sucks that the coaches didn't give him that nod, but good to see him get it from the AP.
Yeah. And again, it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. I did laugh because I think he quote tweeted the tweet, and it was had something to say about it and how that could happen. So and also don't forget, he didn't even play in one game, the UAPB game. He did not play.
A game where they padded stats too. He could have easily gotten a couple. That's what's funny is, like, if he had played against UAPB and caught 2 touchdowns, 50 yards, probably like unanimous, might even be an All-American. Like, literally, it's one of those things. But in the SEC, there were not 2 receivers better than Andrew Armstrong this year.
No, not that anybody should ever. Again, those coaches things too. It's a lot of those SIDs that just vote on them because coaches don't care. They don't care enough to do anything about it. But I also wanted to bring this up, and maybe we could have. I guess maybe we could talk about it more in depth tomorrow, because I know we got just a few minutes, but talking a lot of basketball. This was pretty good from Brad Crawford of 24/7 Sports. He brought up this particular thing here that you're seeing on your screen, where it was the NIL collective funding per NCAA estimates. And you see there on the left, the top schools: Texas, Ohio State, LSU, Georgia, Texas A&M, Michigan, Alabama, Florida, and Clemson. Not really surprising there. But if you look at the list to the right, you kind of see the next one's up. And Oklahoma is at $14 million right there. Then Penn State at 13, Indiana at 13, Michigan State, Virginia. Then you see Tennessee, Auburn, Arkansas, and Kentucky all kind of in the same way when it comes to this. Is not just NIL. This is NIL collectives. So I want to make sure that that's clear. But a lot of that is just estimates, nothing for certain, nothing for sure, but it kind of gives you an idea of what the collective situation looks like for the Razorbacks right now.
Couple things that I thought were interesting about that. And I saw, I think it was some Kentucky folks put out a story about it, and then they just had the full list. And I think Arkansas was like 10th or 11th in the SEC in that, which I guess that kind of tracks like lower middle of the pack. It's kind of where we thought they were. I don't know. For some reason, I just thought that's more than I thought that they had raised through the collective. Whatever. But then Ole Miss, I think, was lower, and I thought the Grove collective was killing it. So I'm not really sure like where that information came from, and I think it was for this past fiscal year, like the 23-24 year, and so maybe that's part of it. But I don't know. It was interesting. I need to do more research to see where they came up with some of these numbers, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not an exact science. I don't know if you're ever going to get like just definitive, here's how much each team spent on their football team, their basketball team. Like, I don't think we're ever going to get that. But my reaction, one, Arkansas, I believe they're 17th nationally. Is that, am I doing the math there? And obviously that still is, 10th in the SEC. I think this kind of dispels a little bit of the whole, the only reason we're losing is because of NIL. Like, obviously Arkansas can improve. You see a lot of teams above them, but like, I see some teams, but I mean, South Carolina, not even 10 million from their collective. Why are they going 9-3 in football? Louisville, freaking Oregon right there. I mean, and those teams, I understand different schedules and all that, but I guess my reaction is the gap isn't really as big as I thought it was between Arkansas's and what they're doing. And obviously they're still, a far cry away from some of the top spenders, kind of like everyone is. Like, you see it drops off drastically there, but like Arkansas is not that far away from being in that top 10, top 15 range of NIL. So obviously you always need more money, and Arkansas is kind of always going to be in that situation. But I think that some of the people who have been using NIL as a crutch, I think this report kind of contradicts a lot of what they've been saying.
Well, the coach has been using it as a crutch too, which is what kind of
Exactly.
gets me.
Mhm.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we know, and look, I've seen a lot of people who have had the reaction of, well, if we have all that money, where is it going? I'm like, well, it's going to your right tackle who you benched halfway through the year. It's going
Right.
to your receiving core that stunk. It's going to your quarterback that you hate. It's going to defensive players who transferred out. I mean, yeah, that's what I never bought the idea of, oh yeah, Arkansas has just got the NIL screwing them. It's like, you're playing the NIL game. You're just playing it poorly.
Yeah, like allocate your resources a little bit better. And also like shout out to John because I mean, I remember back in we were having these discussions almost a year ago. It was like in January, February, where he was pretty open and upfront and be like, hey, like NIL is not as big of an issue for Arkansas as people are making it out to be. You've been on that train for a while, and now the numbers kind of prove it. It's not, I mean, it's not the best situation in the world, but it's not like they're just freaking cash poor over there.
Yeah. That's the thing that I kept trying to make for that point. And I'm not like saying it because, oh, this was just some wild random prediction that I just happened to get right. It's like I talk to people, and people that I know wouldn't just tell me, oh yeah, the NIL is just perfect. It's the thing that it's such a, as you said, is a crutch when coaches start coming out saying, oh, we need more NIL. Some people, not all, but some people will immediately go, okay, so anytime we lose a game, then we just don't have the NIL. We just don't have the players. And that's not the case. I always looked at it too. And in football, it's been a little bit different. But if you looked at it for the first year or two that NIL became a thing, look at the recruiting classes. Arkansas, there's certain sports that were always great in recruiting, but think about basketball and some of the guys that got out of the recruiting and transfer portal, or, baseball, and where it's always been good, but it's been high, and softball. I mean, everything. You're killing it. You're getting, it's the highest it's ever been. And you're telling me that if you don't have NIL, you're getting your best classes? No, that's not how that works. It's fine. That's not what keeps it happening. It's about knowing where to spend the money, who to spend it on, and also good coaching. I mean, that's what it is. I just feel like, say what you want about Pittman or whatever, but I just feel like if there was somebody else that was coaching and somebody that was like a really high-end coach, we'll sew Lane Kiffin in here. We'll throw Kirby Smart, whoever. But I promise you that they would be able to have good success at Arkansas, and it's not despite of the NIL, it's because of the NIL too. So we'll see. But
look, there's no tangible proof that that NIL is actually costing Arkansas. One, in that survey, I mean, that who knows how exact those numbers are, but that shows that Arkansas is in the top 20 of the country and like middle of the pack in the SEC, which is kind of where we expected them to be. But again, your recruiting classes for the high school ranks have not dipped drastically. They've been about where they normally are every single year. Your transfer portal classes have actually been kind of higher. Like football has not had a transfer class lower ranked than 26th. Your team talent, according to 24/7 Sports, was at 26th going into this year, right around where it's been every single year. So it's like you can make the case of like, oh, NIL. It hasn't had any actual tangible effect on your classes or your team talent or your ability to bring in guys. You just whiffed on some of those guys. We know for a fact that they paid Keyshawn Blackstock a solid amount of NIL. My source is Keyshawn Blackstock, who said it on public airwaves. I went to the school that offered me the most money. So we know they gave money to him. T-Slaw, Broden. I mean, Andrew Armstrong got a deserved bump, but like we know the receiving core got a bump in the offseason. And it just didn't pan out. It's like, and again, that happens. That kind of stuff happens everywhere. There's tons of schools who are paying guys money that aren't producing, but it's like, you can't do the whole, well, NIL. Arkansas is playing the NIL game. We just know that they're not doing it very well. And again, there is no actual evidence that indicates that is why Arkansas is losing, especially because their transfer portal classes have actually given them a chance to succeed. If Arkansas is going to have a decent roster next year, it's going to be because of their portal class. So if the NIL is such a big problem, how come it hasn't shown up in literally any way at all? Like it hasn't shown up in your recruiting from high school transfer, and it's not showing up in these surveys that everyone's doing at the NCAA.
Yeah. Well, and I also want to bring this up. I'm bringing this graphic back up, but you see, again, this is all just estimates, folks, and this is just for the collective. I want to make sure that's clear. But the number one there is Texas at $22.2 million. That's about double what it is according to Arkansas, and here at 11.5. Okay, if that's the case, you lost by 10 to Texas. So you're telling me that, if you doubled your NIL, that's how you would have beaten Texas. It's like, no. you're still in a position to beat Texas. You just didn't. So,
Well,
yeah.
Then, I mean, let me throw this out there because we're seeing that and we're saying, okay, so NIL is not the problem, whatever. And we're talking about how they're allocating their resources. And then I retweeted earlier another report that came out. It was on USA Today, which was the SEC assistant coach salary pool, where, not counting it's just the assistants. So the coordinators and the assistant coaches, not Sam, but Arkansas ranks 15th out of 16 in the SEC in the amount of money that they're giving to their assistant coaches. It is very low comparatively speaking. So if we're talking about, maybe it's, coaching or whatever else besides money, you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm. You do. And also your head coach is one of the worst paid coaches in the SEC as well. I think you want to see like 13, 14. So for everybody in the chat who's like, so what are you guys saying it's coaching? Yes. Yes. That is the conclusion we are jumping to. Like, you're cutting costs somewhere. You're doing it with you have a makeshift coaching staff. You have a head coach who you're cutting costs there. I would say that is a very big reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and you could hate that and you can get mad about it and you can say, well, it's why are we keeping Pittman? Why don't we get somebody better? Well, it's like, you're going to have to pay. That money's going to have to come from somewhere if you're going to pay for somebody that's going to be better. So, but yeah, anybody, and also people that keep bringing up like, oh, the extensions or these bonuses and stuff like that. It's like, dude, it's like a drop in the pan compared to these other SEC schools and what they're spending. So, and again, it's not your money. It's not yours. So it's not like you're getting your taxes are going to get raised if, the NIL or for coaching salaries. It's just not that case. A few other things here, because now we're getting close to wrapping up. By the way, North Carolina has officially finalized the deal. Bill Belichick's their next head coach. So that is a thing.
Can't wait to watch this. Yeah,
what a disaster that's going to be. I can't believe they did that.
I wish I could give credit to the right person, but somebody was basically putting out there that it's just ironic that people are so infatuated with Bill Belichick, going into detail about doing all the things that all college programs are already doing. Because he was talking about his manifesto, like his pathway to success for these guys and everything. It's like, bro, that's what everyone is doing, but good on you. So it's good. I'm glad it ain't Arkansas. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be hilarious. Also, a few chats here before we get out of here too. Jeff says, please tell me y'all seen the ridiculous story about the Florida outside linebackers demands? I have not.
I don't think I did either.
Yeah, so I'll have to look into that. Not totally sure.
He wants his money.
Yeah. I did see this from Evan asked earlier in the show. He's like, are y'all going to go live for the SEC schedule reveal? That is tonight, 2025 SEC football schedule reveal. I mean, I don't know. Probably
I'll tell you
not.
right now, I am not.
Yeah, no, Curtis ain't. But I probably not, because if it was something where you didn't know who the opponents were and and where they were at, I think that would be definitely interesting. But we all know who they're playing and where they're playing. I mean, it's just a matter of where on the schedule they're going to play. So I don't know if something crazy happens where Arkansas has to play 3 straight road games against LSU and Ole Miss and Texas or something, then maybe. But no, probably not. It's not really on people's minds right now.
It's not breaking news go live. Like, obviously we'll have a show tomorrow where we can talk about it all. But like you said, we know the teams. And so, I mean, I'm excited to look at it, but it doesn't seem like one of those breaking news type of things.
No, not at all. And real quick, before we get out of here, guys, I got to play this. And I also want to show how big of a loser I am that the Razorbacks were in Madison Square Garden and Justin Timberlake was playing in North Little Rock, and I wasn't at either of them. So, it shows how big. But I just wanted to play this video because Justin Timberlake, some Razorback stuff happened. And just here, take a listen.
Is Lizzie and Lance came up on stage last time I was here in 2019 and got engaged. And now they're back. And they've been married 5 years. Wow. And then Lance just told me, you said the Razorbacks just beat Michigan.
By the way, real quick, those are the Pigs brand people that he was referring to.
That. I almost sent y'all the same thing.
Yeah, just wanted to point that out real quick.
You got duped by the 3 again.
Yep.
Everyone always does.
Man, when I was okay, y'all gonna keep going. Yes, I know it's sweet side. Razorback. Man, y'all used to break my heart. I just gotta give the Razorbacks props. Under Nolan Richardson, man, y'all used to break my heart. Used to beat up on Memphis State. It was a sad story. What's that? Yeah, I feel it. That was really cool, by the way, just to be in the middle of y'all doing a pick call. That was great. You should give yourselves a round of applause on that one.
He also went on to say, shout out to Coach Cal, is what he did later in that. But still pretty cool to see Justin Timberlake be part of calling the Hogs and everything. I just hate I wasn't there because I'm lame.
So. I know you love that, John. Love that, buddy.
I know.
That's
it was
2 JT concerts you've missed in the last year.
Yeah, can you believe it?
How about that, man? That's
yeah.
I feel sad for you.
It's pretty rough, and it was crazy too. Is that I got told last night there were plenty of tickets available to this concert down in North Wood Rock, what I was shocked by. So maybe JT's lost his fastball. And, every concert I went to, yeah, it was crazy how tough it was to get in there. So
hey, remember when JT got arrested and he was like, "This is going to affect the tour"? And they were like, "What tour? The World Tour."
Yeah,
is this that World Tour that he was referencing?
This is the World Tour. This is the World Tour that he has. So, but no, it's just cool between that and when Harry Styles did his thing, and that is why Arkansas is fantastic. It's
Harry Styles is funny because JT at least part of him knew. Once they started doing it, he's like, "Oh wait, yeah, they do it 3 times." I think he was confused, but Harry Styles is from England.
Yeah.
He ain't got no context for what Arkansas fans are like, what they do. He was baffled. He the look on his face. He was like,
yeah,
he's just looking around. At least JT was somewhat familiar with the hog call.
Yeah. So good way to end it right there. So either way, hey folks, we really appreciate you all today listening in, watching in. Appreciate all the super chats as well and all your support. Be sure to subscribe to us here at Inside Arkansas. Like the video. We're continuing to grow, and it is rapidly moving up. So we got all your content here, though, whether it's Pot at the Palace with all the Razorback basketball. We got transfer portal action happening. Got Bombastic going on, too. Everything right here in Inside Arkansas. So be sure to subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on social media at Inside Arkansas. And be sure to check out our website at InsideArkansas.com for all the latest and greatest up-to-date information on all things Razorbacks. So for Andrew Ellis and Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel. Tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.